Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Pacific Rumble. I'm your host, Christian Toma. To my left is David Williams. Make sure to check us out on Facebook and YouTube /WGLNA. And as always, go ahead and follow us on Twitter @WGLNA so you guys can stay up to date on what's happening in the community around you.
Also, check out BattleViewer.com if you haven't already. Same Twitch chat that you know and love, plus easy access to YouTube and Twitter. As we always like to say around here, everything's better on BattleViewer.com.
That's right, David. Now, as you guys just saw, what we just came back from was Noble versus EL Gaming in a fun show match, which is the new Tier 10 format, the 768, where Noble took in the tiebreaker 5-4. So congratulations to them. But now we are getting ready for the actual event itself. Let's pull up the bracket to see what teams will be facing off against each other. Up first, you guys are going to be seeing Caren Tigers versus Kongdoo, and followed by that will be EL Gaming versus High Voltage. Battle number 3 is going to be whoever wins battle number 1 against Noble. And finally, you will have the winners from battle number 2 against battle number 3 to face it off. They're playing for $45,000 and that title of the Pacific Rumble Champions. Now, one thing, again, to note out before we get into the next match, we're not going to see it now, so there's not a lot to talk about as far as what pertains to that. But EL and Noble, they just played a long match, and they're going to be playing again. So once we get to that, it'll be very interesting to kind of see how the fatigue might or might not set in. But up next, it's Kongdoo versus Caren Tiger. And Kongdoo used to be Arete, and we kind of talked a little bit about this. And now, would you say, I mean, they are track record is more in control. They're more dominant than Caren Tigers. Caren Tigers played APAC, I believe, twice and got 3rd place both times, whereas Arete has multiple championships under their belt. So coming into this event, I mean, obviously, I would say I would give the advantage to Kongdoo. Is that fair?
Kongdoo first Caren Tigers.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I would give it to Kongdoo the advantage. But as we've seen, anybody can be overthrown. Obviously,
Sure.
Noble was not at the Global Grand Finals last time.
And they just beat the second place team.
They just beat the second place.
It's true.
Different format. So it's not necessarily relatable.
Right.
I will emphasize, though, that is maybe the new format. We don't actually have an official word on what the new format is. The rumor is it's on Tier 10.
Yep.
There's still some things that are unknowns for us that don't know all the details of the rules. Perhaps this is it. Be interesting if it was.
Yeah.
But just making it clear that that is an exhibition match of its own type, and we have no
Just
idea
for
whether
fun.
that's actually going to continue or not.
For you guys, we are back to 754 for this. For the rest of the Pacific
So,
Rumble, 754.
What I find, this is like one of the most interesting stories overall in the entire time I've been casting. Just, I guess not that long, but the entire time I've been playing, I've been around World of Tanks. So we have a chance. If we're fast forwarding all the way to the finals, right? We have a chance of seeing EL and throughout this entire tournament, we have a chance of seeing EL and Noble square off again.
Play again.
We have a chance of seeing EL and Kongdoo square off again. We have a chance of seeing High Voltage and Noble square off again.
Yeah.
Or, how well would High Voltage do against EL now that they've already played?
Sure.
Or what happens if Caren Tigers gets all the way through? Any result here has its own interesting and intriguing storyline to me. And I would say I don't have any horse in this race, but we have 2.
Yeah.
The bias is real, obviously.
Yeah, it has to be.
They're from our home region.
Yeah, we got to rep. We got to represent.
We feel like it's time. I feel like it's the time for Noble and High Voltage.
Yeah, so now we do, guys, if you guys have been following along, have the Rumble trivia for you. So if you've been paying attention through this cast, let's see. The first question is, what is the name of the wild card team in this tournament? So you guys can tweet @WGLNA with your answers for a chance to win a multitude of prizes tonight. And again, you pull that up @WGLNA on Twitter. If you're following on BattleView.com, nice little reminder to go check that out. But again, the question, what is the name of the wild card? You guys can win a Tier 8 T34 premium tank, including a garage slot. So that's a fantastic prize. So go over again, tweet out your answer. What is the name of the wild card team in this event? Let's see if you guys have been paying attention. We can't tell you, but you guys know. You guys know. Back to what we were talking about, the horse in the race, High Voltage and Noble. That's those people we are rooting for. That'll be the exciting match to see. But at first, none of them, Caren Tigers and Kongdoo. Caren Tigers are the underdogs. They are the ones that we're, maybe we're saying, well, Kongdoo should be able to beat them. They should be able to do a lot of things, but we've seen crazier things happen tonight.
Absolutely.
Luckily, back to 754, though. We're not going to be seeing any more Tier 10, so don't. If you guys excited, that's that's over. Back to 7:54. Get your heads out of the clouds. This is back to the real deal. Back to the 7 minutes. The stuff.
I'm excited, but that's the format that these teams played to get here. I
Huh.
want to see how
Yeah.
they perform head-to-head, the exact same teams, the exact same situations they played to get here. Now I want to see how they all measure up against each other, because we don't get to see this very often. And there might be some information to glean about Noble and High Voltage's ranking overall globally from how they perform in this. If both of them get through all the Asian teams, then perhaps you could argue that they could have done very well at the Global Grand Finals, or could do in the future. Granted, the format will likely be different, but there's a lot of intriguing elements that are going on here. So it's just coming down to the format that the teams have played here. A lot quick matches because they're comfortable with it.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to really go all out. EL Gaming in particular is something that is a team that I am stoked to see play, because they brought that aggressive game in Global Grands.
Sure.
And I would love to see them square off, and we will very soon see them square off against High Voltage.
Which is also
the two
a
teams, the
very
team that
aggressive
I would
team.
have considered our most aggressive team from North America.
Right,
Whereas
absolutely.
Noble has only recently started getting into kind of the aggressive game. In fact, is a good point on that. When they were playing Ghost Town, and as soon as one of the tanks went down, all of Noble moved in. The way I've always seen it, old Noble never would have moved in. They're on defense. They would have sat on cap. They knew it would. All they had to do was wait 2 minutes, and it's a slight risk to try and close it out, even though you probably should win. You know,
Right.
the new Noble, the Noble under current leadership as opposed to old leadership and its new format, its new style, goes for it, and that's a marked difference for me. And I'm very intrigued to see, just especially out of all of it, how High Voltage squares off against EL Gaming, and how Noble squares off against probably Kongdoo.
Sure.
And I think Noble, I mean, they just beat EL. And granted, the format's different, but EL beat both Kongdoo and Caren Tigers in the past. I think Noble should be able to get in the finals.
Okay.
I'm usually don't like to make these kind of predictions, and perhaps I'm going to cast or curse them, and they can come back, and if they make it into the finals next season, they come punch me for it. But you can hold me to that. I'll let you do it, assuming it's the curse and.
Yeah.
But anyways, so
can't prove
I think there's a good chance of seeing Noble get into the finals, and it's really going to come down to who can hack it in between EL and High Voltage, who progresses beyond that point.
All right. Well, there you guys go see on your screen. Kongdoo there, getting set up, getting ready, talking about maybe the last game strategies
There
that
he is.
they could possibly do.
Right there. Drake Dog is the name I knew him by. This is actually the player who has been with Arete for the longest, one of the longest time players, sitting next to Cow Thief. So Pig Thief and Cow Thief were their names for a long time. They like to change their names a lot.
Yeah.
And
great names.
those two are kind of the founders of the original team before it was bought by EL Gaming, or sorry, bought by Kongdoo here, and made a contract with. However that paid out, I don't actually know the details of how they were procured or sold themselves.
Sure.
But what I was getting at is that was actually the guy with the big glasses was the guy who I used to play in Clan Wars.
Oh.
On my team.
On your team.
And he had kind of a bit of a notoriety about him inside the clan, because he didn't really speak a lot of English. He didn't really talk in voice over IP with us, but he would type or just use the affirmative and negative buttons.
Okay.
And so we'd tell him stuff, and
awesome.
I'd be like, "Hey, Drake Dog, get in your Object 261 and do whatever you do in your Drake Dog thing." Because he was crazy. He would just drive someplace in an artillery and act like it was a tank destroyer, and it shouldn't work. But it did. And it worked against actually good teams. He would drive up and just
That sounds
ruin people.
terrifying.
It's the weirdest thing.
Okay.
It's the weirdest thing. So in my mind, he's always kind of a legend. I wish I had it on,
the wild
on
card.
hand. Relics, one of my old teammates, we used to take pictures with him anytime we saw him at WCG and whatnot.
Okay.
Because we've known him for a long time. So I've always kind of had a soft spot for Arete as well. Now Kongdoo, obviously, in particular because of those guys. And I'm glad to see they're still on the team. They're still hanging around. And very interested to see how well they bounce back from what happened to them against EL. Because quite frankly, it was brutal.
It was an upset.
Teams usually do not survive what happened to them in that instance. They took second overall. And they are very serious. Got a nice overhead view of Himmelsdorf there.
So we're about to play.
We are indeed about to play. A little bit of time while Caren Tigers and Kongdoo get their tanks set up. But what I was getting at was just most teams collapse after that bad of a beating.
Really?
Usually there's just a lot of internal turmoil,
Okay.
big roster changes, or the team falls apart completely and people go to different teams or people quit completely because it was brutal. And I hate to do that because I know some of the people that we know over in Kongdoo like to watch the North American broadcast. We see them in chat with the rest of you all the time. If you ever see them there, Pig Thief or Cow Thief, you can go ahead and say hi.
Give 'em away.
But I'm sure they will not enjoy listening to this part. But it was brutal. It was really brutal, and I felt bad watching it. I mean, I was actually pretty stoked at how well EL Gaming was playing, but because I've known these guys and there's a personal face for it to me.
Yeah.
And it's like that all the time, actually, with High Voltage and Noble. At the just as the finals ended,
Okay.
I'm half celebrating and half really sad.
Sure.
Because it's like, oh, I've been there, I've lost it, and it's awful.
Right.
And I've won, and it's great, and it's like, just,
Get the feels. Hashtag the
just-
feels.
Just torn.
Yeah, now, one thing I also kind of want to point out, we talked about a little bit in the pre-show, just the main difference between the styles of NA, the other regions, and what is that? I mean, when those clash together, how do teams prepare for that? Is you just study them all the time and go, all right, this is what they always run, or is there kind of an advantage coming at them with such a crazy new style that they haven't seen before?
The clashing of styles usually comes down to like what you're used to, not necessarily how you plan, because you plan to play the way that you play.
Okay.
And most of the teams worldwide have plans that are supposed to handle any sort of possibility that arises, especially in EU and NA and RU and all that. And I believe Asia's on the same page with that. I actually haven't watched some of the games from past seasons. I've watched some of them from this season, in particular the finals, and it was very similar overall. So I don't think that's as much of an issue now as it was.
Okay.
But when it used to come back and kind of come back was like or haunt you, were small things, a position that you'd never seen before.
Okay.
And it's not a huge strategic problem, but all of a sudden it can be if the player who's there facing that handles it the wrong way. A lot of these things you have to learn by experience.
Sure.
And it
Bad
kind
time
of
to
throws you.
experience it during the
It throws
during the
you.
game. Yeah.
Or especially if they have a different like hidden spotting location, which is what happened that I was talking about.
Right.
Kongdoo versus EL, they just couldn't find EL's
where's
thing,
this
and that
guy?
destroys you because as a caller, you're thinking,
Yeah.
well, we'll spend a little bit of time figuring out where this guy is, and then if we can't, we'll just do something else, right? Then you start doing it, and you're like, okay, well, I've already spent 2 minutes doing this, and there's only so many more places he could hide. So let's keep trying to find him, because if we find him, then we'll just go across.
Okay.
And then 2 minutes later go by, and you're like,
Where is
oh,
this guy?
we're not finding him, and we're really late, and we have no option but pretty much to just like dive in the shark's mouth. And then you do it, and
Gotcha.
the whole team
So
starts to deflate at that
bad.
point because you just felt helpless
Right.
the whole time.
I mean, that would definitely be a problem when you're these teams. You're especially like you're saying where they were at in the global finals, and to have that happen is just catastrophic. We've got some fans. Let's go, Caren Tiger. A nice little drawing there. Everyone's pumped. Everyone is ready for this first match of the Pacific Rumble to begin. Again, these guys are playing for $45,000 and that title, the bragging rights, as always. And just kind of talking again about these bragging rights. If you're NA, right? If you're the NA teams, you can come through and you can beat some of these guys. And if you can take this, especially if you're Noble. I mean, imagine if you're Noble and you take this again, right? Just if you take another championship and you're coming into the next season, does that like can we talk about pride being a good thing and also a bad thing? I mean, is it?
Yes, this is. I feel like tonight has been the broadcast of my past personal experience, like more than any of the other ones
memory
have,
lane.
honestly. And it feels a little weird to keep talking about it like this, but it's valid. And in this instance, yes, you kind of get a little bit more ego, but a lot of teams are never satisfied. You know what I mean? You always want what you can't have.
Sure.
So now that you're the victor. What's next? And it's like, well, international victory, and then you're not so much focused, or at least in our case, it's not so much focused on the national victory, the home stuff, because you've already done it. It's
Been
water
there,
under
done
the
that.
bridge. You
Yeah.
should get it again. You've got the expectation of it, and then you're focused on something else entirely, and that can come back and haunt you big time.
Sure.
It's the best way to do it, in my opinion, is to treat every season like a new season, and every opponent like they can beat you, and not make any assumptions. But I mean, honestly, I'm just kind of paying lip service to something that nobody actually does.
Okay.
Everybody talks about it, but of course you
I'll
don't
treat
do
it. I'll treat them like they
If
can
you've
fight.
stomped a team 5 times, the next time you go play them, you don't take them as seriously. You just don't. And sometimes it can come back and haunt you and take you out.
Right.
But that's just the facts. You get used to winning, and the fall is further.
No, I mean, it makes sense. So maybe there is, the dangers. Again, it would be fantastic if Noble or High Voltage or, EL, if they win. I mean, that'd be a huge boost to, especially like you were saying, if Kongdoo can come back and win against EL. Well, I also kind of want to talk about that because you said that the thing with EL is their aggression and how precise it is. I mean, how on point that aggression is. And if it's off just slightly, we saw it just a couple seconds late, it could mean you lose the entire game. Talking about, is that, and you said they were kind of the ones that were the forerunners of that, or was that a Rete you were talking about?
That was EL Gaming in the most recent meta. There's plenty of teams that have been aggressive in the past. Na'Vi was more recently. They've been slower, more methodical, especially near the end of 742 previous seasons. But in the beginning, they were aggressive, and there's just everything was a trap or a bait. It was all very hard to play them, and they were the gold standard at the time of aggression and sort of a defensive posture. They could do it all. And EL has broken out more recently as the people who brought it back.
Okay.
Ironically, beating a lot of people. They didn't actually face off against Na'Vi, if I remember correctly. Would have been interesting if they did. But they faced off against the people that beat Na'Vi, Hellraisers, and Hellraisers beat them. So it's still it's interesting to see if it goes to that level. And I am hyping them because they deserve it. Second place is no small task.
No.
But can they take it to that next level? Because, like I said, it works on a lot of people if they don't expect it. They get intimidated. If you execute well, it's an uncomfortable way of playing for the enemy team.
Okay.
It's what we used to capitalize on. But as time goes on, eventually people start figuring out ways of setting traps for that, or they expect you to do it, and they get used to that intimidation. It doesn't work so much anymore, and now you're taking more risk than they are.
Yeah.
And if you make a single mistake, it all falls apart, which is higher pressure on the team. So think about it this way. If one player on, say, Noble in a spread camp makes a mistake, and somebody else can cover up, maybe readjust, and they'll work it out in the long run.
Okay.
And that guy will feel bad, but it's not that big of a deal. You know, as long as you hold, you win as a team, you lose as a team in that.
Right.
That falls apart very quickly when you play the way these guys do. At least the way they played on Mines, all autoloaders like that. You don't win and lose as a team anymore, because everybody has to do their job perfectly. And if one guy doesn't, it all crumbles. And it is brutal, because then it's like, oh, look, all throughout practice, this one guy chokes and makes a mistake. Ooh, we actually got a tank picking going on here.
Yeah, look at this, ladies and gentlemen.
Side to side. So Caren Tigers with 3 IS-3s, 2 5100s, an LTTB and an E25? Baby Halo somewhere is laughing. The old Halo strat.
I'll laugh for him.
See what Kongdoo goes with side to
side.
side. 3 IS-3s so far. A little bit of a pause.
Like, wait.
While we, I wonder if they're actually doing this. This has got to be more of a verbal pick. Okay, 3 5100s, and then we'll see a tier 6 of some type. This is Himmelsdorf, so there we go. AMX-12T makes a whole lot of sense. That is interesting. Especially because Kongdoo is on offense, and on offense, I've always really liked the 3 5100s. It's hard. It's something you would almost see EL Gaming do, honestly.
Okay.
It's hard, and it can be incredibly successful, but a single one of those 5100s makes a mistake, and it's over. You lose. But it's the only thing that can really break through a lot of the front steel wall that people put up, because you have that introductory damage that we've talked about in the past.
The alpha damage.
You drive around a line, say you're trying to attack an IS-3. He's going to shoot you once, and you don't even get to shoot back until you get to the corner, and then now you're having a fight. So it's the introductory damage is what I've always called about. The cost of getting to the fight at all.
Gotcha.
So the IS-3s are there for that, and then the 5100s have that closeout damage. And in a perfect world, if you set the trap and collapse the trap, you do it right, great lineup. If you don't, woo, all sorts of room for error in that. However, Caren Tigers running 2 tier 7s. And I honestly, I don't see exactly what they're going to do with that. I feel like this is a gigantic risk on defense. and I just don't understand it. So we'll see where they go in the beginning of this match, because I am very rarely completely and utterly perplexed by a lineup as I am like this.
Well, let's see, ladies and gentlemen, as we are into our first match of the Pacific Rumble. It is Caren Tigers on defense against Kongdoo on offense. Let's get right into it and retake a look at what we've got for our tanks for any of you who just missed it.
Caren Tigers, again, 2 5100s, 3 IS3s, an E25, and LTTP. Kongdoo with 3 5100s, 3 IS3s, and an AMX-12T.
Right here, right off the bat, Kongdoo not looking at the hill at all. Seeing all their members down that K line, looking up to push the 9. Again, looking for that courtyard control. The LTTB coming to match up from Caren Tigers and that E25. And this 12T extremely fast. The AMX-12T going to be a nice little spot. Looking for any sort of lights as possible. Let's see if he's going to find anyone. He kind of drives right on by. I'm sure one of those IS3s might have spotted him, but he keeps going, booking it for this northern cap, where a couple IS3s are waiting for him. And here comes that 7-8 line push, David, that we kind of saw at the beginning of the earlier season. Now looking at Caren Tigers setup, are they ready for this? Well, the first shot going out onto that 12T Reno. Get that one up in the IS3. No damage there, just a little bit of track there coming out. Kongdoo gets off nice and safe. But Caren Tigers should now know what they are up against as the E25 now moving on that F line.
Both teams pretty standard so far. Tier 7s are going to come in behind. See a little bit more of perhaps what they're attempting to do. I still am not sold on the 2 Tier 7s. There's got to be a very distinct reason for them. Hasn't quite come to fruition yet. Perhaps this LTTB Dom will get up on hill, get in behind Kongdoo, which will very likely shut down a lot of the possible options. But instead, he's going to go down the 8 line, which is a huge gamble, because his line of fire is actually not too far away from where Kongdoo can aim down at him and take him out relatively easily. A pretty standard response with an E100, or sorry, a 5100 coming over here in the D line. E25 is still with him, and I still have yet to see why that tank is even here.
Well, we will see as the clock now ticks down. Kongdoo doing a great job putting that cap pressure on. 27 seconds. Here comes Caren Tigers sending a 5100 just a little bit closer, setting up for something. It looks like we have the E25 with Pauly in that 5100, gonna push around. They're gonna look for any sort of reset as they possibly can, but they do have a lot of members ready and waiting for any sort of poke possible. Also, up on top of the hill, we have another member from Caren going down. The first shot's going out onto that IS3. Looks like Reno's responsible for that one. And Aki over in the corner in his IS3 doing a good job trying to find the resets where they can. 25 seconds now, still on the clock. More shots going on. 375 points of damage are going onto the IC for Caren Tigers. Here comes the push. KD picks up the tier 8. AMX 5100 now backing off. 310 points of damage there. Kongdoo deciding to give up the cap pressure, and the rest of the push for Caren going out. It looks like it's going to be chaos now over on the northern cap as Kongdoo getting sandwiched on both sides, but a pink Zank picking up. Pauly going down in his 5100, and now it is a 5 tanks from Caren Tigers against all 7 for Kongdoo. Caren Tigers getting absolutely dominated. Aki and his IS3 getting lit up. It looks like another thing going through. Reno picks up a kill. Another one falling. That's 2 pickups there for Caren Tigers. A 5100 for Kongdoo, finding another one. But like tier 8 gets another kill there. Who are going to go down to Reno. And now it is a 4-on-3. Caren Tigers turned that around almost instantly there. Got Papa in that 5100 set on fire. Papa is on fire, ladies and gentlemen, and he is going to go down to Reno again, who finds another kill. 4 tanks up for Caren Tigers against just 2 for Kongdoo. 2 5100s remain, both very low. We have a pink about a little above half health. Oh my, here comes the LTB coming out of the corner. He knows that 5100 is. He's looking for any bit of damage possible. Now, David, if you were Kongdoo in this situation, what do you do?
Cry, pretty much. This should not be winnable, is what I will say.
All right.
It's not impossible.
Should not.
But now BL is dead.
It's dead.
Obviously. I mean, what I was going to say is there's no way there's not a chance. He's locked. A pink Zhang actually pulling out a kill against Aki, which that's pretty much expected. I mean, an IS3 versus 5100. 5100 gets out more shots in a shorter amount of time.
Sure.
The LTTB here, though, alone, Madame, can probably kill the 5100 as long as as long as he gets some of the introductory shots, they're pretty relatively even given their amount of hit points and DPM they're both capable of. The LTTB will die in 3 to 4 shots.
Woo! Wudam taking
And we're
330
starting
points
off.
of damage there. Not a lot of introductory damage are going out onto a Pink Zing from Caren Tigers. But Deck and Reno know exactly where Pink Zing is, and they're coming to support Madame and his LTTB. 2 minutes on the clock here. Not looking good for Kongdoo. Another shot going through, 169 points of damage. One more shot, and he should go down. It's gonna be Wudam who picks that one up in the first victory now, going over to Caren Tigers. A nice pickup there from what we were considering the underdogs. Let's kind of talk about what we saw there. So Kongdoo obviously put most of their guys onto that northern cap. Caren started to flank, and in that flank, did Kongdoo react appropriately? I mean, they kind of split their damage, they split their forces, they backed off of cap. What could they have done better?
I think the 5100 locations need to be a little bit better, and they need to be more proactive about finding a fight and getting a minute. What we saw there was the autoloaders basically being left alone. Not necessarily left alone, but focused after the single shot tanks.
Okay.
So when they're reloading, the amount of HP left on Caren Tigers, Caren basically just got to pick off a lot of tanks because the 5100s were mostly dry in their shells. I was thinking a little bit more about the E25 and why it might be there.
Sure.
And I think maybe I have an idea. Well, you
Let's hear it.
originally saw him go down the 1-2 line, and he was spotting kind of in that general area, and he's pretty good for that. But the big thing is that he's low. He's very small to the ground. So perhaps they're bringing him because he can fire underneath all the trains over there. I don't know for a fact.
Okay.
Because I haven't driven an E25 in a while, especially not looking under trains on Himmelsdorf. It's such like a niche idea that perhaps it works out. Because other than that, they would have been better off without the tier 7s and just having a AMX 12T and a tier 8. But either way, it worked for him. Let's see the little bit of action that took place here. Right there, that was one of the big things with the LTTB. Now, if they want to bring tier 7s, granted you could do that with a tier 6, but if they want to bring tier 7s, that is what I was expecting out of it. That hill flank, something we even talked about all the way back in the beginning of our previous season, about how that had to be the final, or one of the final types of meta that you see on this map, because it answers that one pocket where they can cap.
Right.
And he got in. Oh, and check how much damage he did, because he got to do some work from that general area. Relatively unscathed. Yeah, okay. The LTTB put up 1803, second highest on his team.
Wow. Wow.
He's left alone, and it's not a place where any of the people from Kongdoo should be looking and trying to shoot at all. The only thing they can really do about it is perhaps leave a 12T up there to take him out if he goes there. But either way, it's hard to know for certain.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, we're getting ready to go into the tank picking for this next match. Again, the first did go over to Caren Tigers. Let's see if there's going to be any sort of changes or if they're going to bring the same lineup. David, let's see what Caren Tiger brings.
First round of picking. 3 IS3s for Caren Tiger. Not surprising, going to be 3 IS3s coming out of Kongdoo as well. Head-to-head, not really revealing any cards.
4 IS3s.
Now they're picking side to side. 2 5100s and LTTB. Looks like they're going to go with the same lineup. 4 IS3s, 2 5100s, and the AMX 12T again. Yep,
Look
coming
at
out
that.
for Kongdoo.
E25.
Caren's not changing. Kongdoo recognized that their biggest problem there was they had 1 additional 5100. It's great for breaking camps. If you're not breaking a camp and you want them to come to you, that kind of starts flipping the other way around. I believe that's a nice change from Kongdoo. Hopefully, for them, at least, it'll fix their problems going forward, as Caren Tigers has 1 more defensive attempt before they have to switch on offense.
Yeah.
And it's very important for Kongdoo to take one of these offensive victories in order to make sure that they can get ahead on the first map. It's brutal. They got to play 4 times on 1 map. And if either team gives up 3 or all 4, that makes the next map a lot more intimidating.
A lot of
because they
stress.
have two, maybe they're 2 on attack.
Sure.
And then they absolutely have to win 2. And putting yourself in a position where you absolutely have to win on assault is a very stressful, very morale-breaking position.
I can't even imagine. Ladies and gentlemen, we are getting into the next battle. Caren Tiger is up 1-0 against Kongdoo, same sides as last times. Let's get right into it and let's see what we've got for our tanks.
Caren Tigers with 2 5100s, 3 IS3s, an E25, an LTTB, and a spectator and a lull tractor. Hi, spectator. I have a feeling we're going to reset this. Kongdoo with 2 5100s, 4 IS3s, and an AMX 12T. As we just saw from the picking. We'll see if this match plays off.
Yeah.
Or if we call a break for a passing car. That little wall tractor is aggressively shooting at 1500.
He's probably trying to get their attention. Like, guys, I'm not supposed to be here.
Well, none of them are going to take a break in their timing to shoot him whatsoever because it will ruin the strategy. Everything is about.
Sure.
You know, actually, there was a time
Tell me, David. Tell me a story.
when all of us pro players and commentators had to walk uphill in the snow,
Both ways.
in the rain, and hurricane tornado winds, both ways to and from the tournament match. Okay, there we go. They appear to be dropping. So we're going to have to go back here.
There we go.
Let them get that match started because can't play with that. What I was getting at, though,
You can't
is
play with-
a long time ago, that's how you had to spectate. All the tournaments started off with killing the T1s.
That's amazing.
And there was actually interesting
That sounds good.
tournaments that were broadcasted, I should say. There was actually some kind of interesting meta about it because to kill a T1, you had to slow down. So some people killed it quickly before they moved because an IS-3 takes a while to load. Or if I was running a tournament back then, in fact, me and Relics used to do it. We'd be very nice, and we would drive with them in our T1s for a while, so that they didn't have to stop.
Yeah,
and
so
it was
they-
like, all you
they-
got to do
they
is
could
turn your
shoot
turret
you.
around and kill me.
No, that's the nicest thing ever. That's next level spectating right there.
Yep. So, for that match to get underway again.
Getting there
here
quick
very
reset
quickly.
for you guys. And now, kind of another thing, just pointing out, we saw last time Caren Tigers doing the 7-8 push. They took no one on the hill. They took no one to scout anywhere else. They just went 7-8 with all of their tanks. What is
Kongdoo.
Sorry, Kongdoo.
Yep.
What is the benefit or detriment? And we can talk about that as, ladies and gentlemen, we are getting underway. We got that tank out of there. It is now a 7-on-7, as it should be. Let's get right back into it and see, again, nothing has changed, but what we've got for our tanks.
Same tanks we had before, Christian.
Whoa!
Imagine that.
Imagine that.
As the rules state, you are not allowed to change side to side. Both teams, similar in that they're bringing 25100s. Both teams bringing at least 3 IS-3s. Biggest difference is Caren Tigers bringing 2 Tier 7s, an E25 and LTTB. And Kongdoo bringing an IS-3 and an MX-12T. In general, I've got to agree in line with Kongdoo, but it's been working for Caren Tigers, so what do I know? Right now,
David, you know a lot.
the more you know, the less you know, Christian. Getting deep philosophical with it. So, as they spread out in these original moves, I'm not sure those are the exact vectors they were taking before. And Kongdoo is going to move down and across, perhaps into the west, or at least they're going to scout it with their MX-12T. They're pushing 2 5100s on top of hill. Pretty classic move as well. Just kind of a pretty typical spread to get some intelligence to decide where they're going to go from that. It's often a precursor to pushing the 8 line, which maybe they'll do again. It's probably the best option in general.
Okay.
And Caren Tigers showing a actually fairly impressive defensive spread here. The only real risk is, again, the E25.
But you're not seeing it used that train tactic that...
Okay, so,
theory.
the only other thing that could really be going on here is it can have pretty good view range. If I can get on it. Okay, so he does have a camo net, vents, and binoculars. You know what? I feel like somebody has been studying the numbers. Sometimes there are tanks that you can get kind of tricksy with, where their camo coefficients packed with like view range and camouflage and all that. There's a good chance that even sitting out here in the open, he can't be spotted.
Really?
Until you get within a certain range. So perhaps they're using him for vision control, and
Wow.
he actually can't be spotted
That's
from perhaps all
amazing.
the way down over to this corner. It's doing math and studying the mechanics, and that is the benefit of some of the light tanks, as opposed to things you would see more often, like, say, for example, the T21 versus like a T37. T21's camo is actually better, and it's harder to spot, and we saw Noble exploit that quite a bit in previous matches. Well, we were mostly speculating on why they were doing it. They actually told me after the grand finals, or after the finals, they were Germ, I think. He was like, you know what, you raised a couple points, but you got it wrong. You always missed out on the camo coefficient. He's like, I'll tell you now, because we're probably moving away from tier 8, so I'll tell you all about it now. So obviously in my mind at this point, I guess it's the only thing I can think of for this E25, because the spotting, being able to drive away.
It's very tricky.
It's got to be the camo because he's just not moving.
It's one of the tricks that brushes. Now we get the LTV back here over on the side. Looking through, meeting up with the other IS3. Not a lot going on here. Kongdoo, looks like they're actually going straight for the just to the courtyard, pushing all those IS3s down. And the question is, how is Caren Tigers going to react to this? It's the E25 getting out of there. I don't know if Caren Tigers saw that coming, but the move was well-timed indeed for the defending team. Push straight up that 5 line. Now, David, if you're Kongdoo, with what they're doing, what's the major flaw, or what could go wrong for them?
Being trapped in the 5 line is awful, and there's nowhere you can go once you get stuck there.
Okay.
And driving around any of those corners is death. So their best bet is to get their 5100s online to guard their rear in the D line. And another one to support them from the 0 line down the B, and then, you know, just they got to push, or they got to get somebody on cap, which would be ideal. If they can set that up to where anybody who crosses this gap right here gets tapped by 4 IS3s at the same time, if all 4 of those shots penetrate, that tank dies. It doesn't matter what it is at this tier. 4 IS3 shots on one target, it will die.
Right.
But they're actually backing out.
Off, yeah.
That is smart. I'm breathing a little bit of a sigh of relief on their part, just because I feel like I get a little bit anxious just seeing people stack up in the 5 line like that. I've seen it go wrong.
Yeah.
I've had it go wrong on myself so many times. Now they're moving into something a little bit more traditional in some ways. Nice with the 12T stuck in this spot right here. That's it's kind of a trick, right? Perhaps Caren Tigers comes over here. They're more focused on these guys. And there's enough cap pressure to know that they have to be here, at least here.
Sure.
So, looks like what Kongdoo is hoping is that nobody sees the 12T. Nobody expects the 12T, and they just kind of let them build points while they get pulled into a trap elsewhere, and then it's going to come down to execution, and it was about to kick off.
That's right, 7 seconds on the clock, so it's going to Caren. They get the reset onto B there. I'm just going to call him B in the IS3 now, backing off. Deck taking a shot there in his IS3. Another shot going through. Red Bull does some damage. Over the top, though, we have an LTV coming for the flank. A lot of damage going to Caren Tigers. Apolly's going to pick up the first tank, falling down for Kongdoo, and even more damage going through. Hippo come around the side, picks up Reno and his IS3 from a 12T. A nice pickup there for Kongdoo. Caren Tigers now going to keep going, collapsing down on the rest of Kongdoo there. Red Bull picks up a deck right before he dies. A pink Zhang now is extremely low. Shino coming around from the back in that 5100. He picks up a pink Zhang, and now it is 5 tanks for Caren Tigers against the 4 of Kongdoo there. Red Bull against Aki, an IS3 versus an IS3, both very, very even on health. Let's see who's going to come on top. Polly running, 2 picks up Shin. Red Bull finding Aki. Now just 3 tanks remain for Caren Tigers against the 4 of Kongdoo. The AMX will be continuing, like we were talking about, putting up that cap pressure. And now, fighting against Doodoo. I'm going to go that guy in the IS3 now. That's actually his name. Going across, 305 points of damage there. Polly doing a good job at 5100. But a double kill coming up for Kongdoo. Mount going down as well as tier 8, but PR goes down as well. It is 3 tanks against just the 1 of Caren Tigers. Polly on the retreat in that 5100, obviously on the reload, but I don't think he's going to be able to go around in time and take the shot with just 17 seconds left on the clock. Red Bull, as well as Hippo and the 5100 for Kongdoo are still alive. 10 more seconds on the clock, now down to 8. Polly doing his best to try to come in the corner, but there is no one he can even shoot at. They're all hiding behind the walls like they should be. 1 more second, and it's going to be Kongdoo picking up a victory against Caren Tigers. Polly takes the shot. But 2. It went down, and he keeps going.
No, he can pull
as
this
we're going through, we're going back to the game,
goes.
and now the time went back. Man, that was close to coming back. That was almost a repeat of, what was that, season 5 with Halo at the end there.
Yeah.
That was almost a repeat of season 5, but at the end, Kongdoo does pick it up, tying it up 1-1 against Caren Tigers there on Himmelsdorf.
Saw that E25 trolling, man. That was hilarious. So he actually got so close to the IS-3, he was just preventing the IS-3 from getting into the battle. He's just pushing him. And he gets so small that it's actually hard to aim down far enough to shoot him once you let him get that close.
That's awesome.
He's not really a problem other than the fact that he's not letting you move. And he's penetrating.
That's
that
amazing.
was unexpected.
He took down an IS-3, which was great. A nice pickup there. Again, tying it up, Kongdoo 1-1. Some of the highlights from the teams.
Well,
damage going through. Do.
Kong, I feel like his name has got to be like Kongdoo, like, I don't know, Sandstorm, maybe?
Oh.
Do. Okay. Kongdoo, or do. Man, that's going to be confusing. He put up 34 damage.
In an
IS-3. That's crazy talk on this map. He got a lot of work in. Conversely, for Caren Tigers, the top damage was 2402 from their 5100 Poly, who actually got 5 kills.
Wow.
5.
Wow.
That's one away from a top gun in a professional match, ladies and gentlemen.
Good for you. Now, the E25. Let's talk about that again for a second. If it is, if what you're talking about is true, and it just can sit there without being spotted right in the center, what are the biggest benefits of taking that tank?
Honestly, I'm not really a huge fan of it. So obviously they're using it for camouflage and spotting, in my opinion.
Okay.
And then other than that, it's just quick. It's got high DPM.
Okay.
So those are the big assets to it: view range, size, DPM, and speed. Other than that, I mean, and that's a lot. It's a lot of nice things, but it's expensive. I don't think it's really worth the points. But they've been using it fairly effectively. He got 813 damage. That's more than one of their IS-3s did. So
make good use of it.
There's no tank really. I mean, well, no, I'm going to backpedal. There are some tanks that really just don't have any use. Most tanks, though, have some use depending on what you do and what map it is and how you support that tank.
Okay.
But as it is, I'm not 100% sold on the E25 meta. Great vision, all that business, but once it gets into the actual fight, what is it really doing?
Gotcha.
And he used it about as well as you can, blocking out that IS-3.
Oh, yeah, it's an amazing thing to do indeed. And now here we go for the tank pickings on both sides. The IS-3 is coming out, as always, 4 for Kongdoo, 3 for Caren Tigers. Caren Tigers followed by 2 5100s and 2 LTTBs now coming up for Caren Tigers over the side of Kongdoo, 5100s and the 12T. Now, bring those 2 LTTBs. We are going to be switching sides. So what do you expect to see out of those 2 tanks?
The LTTBs in particular you're talking about?
Yeah, he'll push flank.
Well, Caren Tiger will be on offense. Looks like they really favor the scout game in general. On offense, it's actually a little bit better in some ways because you can get more intel and it's more important on offense to know exactly where the opponent is than it is on defense because on defense you know where they have to go.
Right.
I would definitely expect Hill, at least from one of them, and maybe going west with the other one. They can do some annoying split cap stuff while also setting traps with their tier 8s. Or they can just push both of them on Hill, which will guarantee that they'll win against an MX 12T if they go head-to-head. Or even a 5100 if it gets up there. Can be a significant problem, or it can be a significant problem for them in that situation.
Sure. Now, one thing also I kind of talk about what we just saw from the back. It was Caren Tiger who did send an LTB on the hill to flank, and it actually made it to the fight almost right as it started. I mean, so the speed of the LTB is an amazing thing.
Well, it's going to be the fastest tank that we really see used around here. Maybe the E25 is faster in general, but out of all of this, what we've seen in typical lineups, it's one of the fastest tanks that we see on the map at any given time. And that zero-line flank is really where it's at. It's incredibly powerful.
Sure. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, we are now getting ready into the third battle of our first match of the night, Caren Tigers versus Kongdoo. It's all tied up. Let's get right into it and take a look at what we got for tanks, which I might stop saying because we're seeing the tanks on the picking.
2 5100s, 3 IS-3s, 2 LTTBs coming out for Caren Tigers. For Kongdoo, 2 5100s, 4 IS-3s, and AMX 12. Kongdoo, much more conventional defensive lineup than we've seen. And Caren Tigers, we really didn't see a whole lot of LTTB meta on Himmelsdorf from the NA scene. So intriguing, interesting to see where it goes this time.
Sure.
One's going to spot the 8 line, and one is going to go spot the 2 line or the 3 line. Both valuable bits of information. Actually, okay, one of them is doing something nuts. Going all the way in the G line, getting into G6. This is an interesting, different kind of meta than we are used to at all. Teams do not really value this as much, where we come, or from what we usually cast in North American League. Probably counter spotting between the 12T and the LTTB. And that's not a whole lot of information for either team, but it will convince the 12T that it's got to go as it's spotted and it's at a risk from the hill. Perhaps that's the whole point, which will free up the 8 line.
Oh, okay.
If that's the goal,
well done.
Great. But that's a very complex thing, and I don't know. I don't know if that's the actual intent from these teams at this point in time, or if it just happens to be a happy accident.
Well, yeah, I mean, but if that was playing out, fantastic job for you, Caren Tigers, scaring out that 12T. Now, actually, I was just going to ask in the last match on Himmelsdorf, one thing we haven't seen tonight so far. We've only seen Himmelsdorf played. Now this is the second time, but no one going for that Western cap, and it looks like Caren Tigers might be heading that way as the LTB in that J1 position, kind of spotting the railroad tracks. The 5100 actually now is retreating, and it looks like they might be pulling back, going again for that Northern cap, seeing what they've seen. But just again, as a refresher, just David, kind of just quickly, what are the biggest flaws of going for that Western cap, and why don't we see it as much?
It's just too open, and there are great positions to attack it from the A1 through 3 area, B1 through 3, the train yard, the train station, this kind of area right here.
Okay.
Has some nice places you can shoot, and there's no cover, so if you're capping in there, the only thing you can do is get behind this building right here. But there are angles to get that. Once, as you can see, basically in a V formation from where I am now.
Right.
Once the defending team gets those 2 angles, there's nothing you can do to cap. And then you're bottlenecked. You essentially isolated yourself by going over here. It's very easy for the defense to collapse around you and just deny you the ability to cap. And then the more you squirm, the more damage you lose, or the more HP you lose. And it just slowly gets worse and worse and worse. So 2 cap is really the only truly viable option. If you were to do 1 cap, the most valuable strategy there is just dragging the defender to a place to open up a 2 cap, or to get them in motion to do something else. Which we saw High Voltage actually do very well, or they've done it well in the past and they attempted it in the finals, but they didn't exactly do it particularly well most recently. But Kongdoo, Caren Tigers, very spread, both of them. This is very different.
Yeah, a couple of LTBs.
Very different.
Way out there, the 5100 is still by the courtyard. We have an IS-3 and a 12T from Kongdoo, as well as another IS-3 up kind of hugging the 1 and 2 line there of the map. And here comes the cap pressure for Caren Tigers. 42 seconds, so you put 2 IS-3s on. Now, David, why would you leave Reno back? Why not throw him on top of cap? It's just too risky. Does he have to be too far out to expose himself?
I don't think he fits. Yeah, he doesn't necessarily fit and build damage. And yes, he is a little bit too exposed. You can start getting so he's nice and recessed where he is. You can also get a pretty good track shot as they come around the corner. And that's too much fire coming out there, and the action is about to start.
Here we go, a big thing, taking 790 points of damage, but we have an IS-3 getting dropped up below half health. Now 1 more shot, and he is going down. Papa picking that one up, but a double kill coming out for Caren Tigers, but now the response, Papa getting another one. That is 2 tanks down for both sides, now 3 for the side of Kongdoo, as Caren Tigers doing a great job bullying Kongdoo away from this Northern cap. Polio, 1,100 points of damage in that 5,100. He is extremely low. He needs to now retreat as Red Bull is chasing him down in the highest stream. But taking 1,400 points. He is hanging on by just a sliver. Ladies and gentlemen, 1 more shot and he will go down. Reno in his IS-3 now being isolated by 3 members of Kongdoo. And Doo is coming in his IS-3 to try to help out. Red Bull picks up another kill, tying it up now 4-4. Wow, the LTB now running in as quick as possible, trying to find, it looks like probably Red Bull, but BLBE picks up Polly. Now just 3 tanks remain for Caren Tigers, and Shino, 1,100 points of damage. He actually does find Red Bull, but he might go down for it. He does. The IS-3 picks up that 5,100. Now just 2 tanks remain for Caren Tigers against the 3 for Kongdoo. The LTB trying to run, he's not going to be able to get out of there as BLBE in his IS-3 picks up that one. Kongdoo chasing down the remaining member of Caren Tigers, the two LTTBs with tricky names. So I'm just going to call them LTTBs right now. He is on the run. He is on offense. So Kongdoo doesn't even have to chase him. But it looks like they just kind of want to end this right now. A minute and 30 seconds are on the clock. He's coming over the corner. A nice jump. Got some air there. 433 points as Amzer coming through an IC versus an LTTBE. LTTB, but he doesn't, will not be alone for long as two ISCs are coming to clean him up. And that is going to be it. Kongdoo picking up another victory, now making it 2-1 against Caren Tigers here in our first matchup of the night. Now, that was it was almost like a similar setup as far as going for the Northern Cap, but a completely different switch. Obviously, we switched sides. Kongdoo now on the offense. Caren Tigers on the offense, Kongdoo on the defense. But let's talk about the spread. I mean, like you said, they were very, very spread out when the cap initially happened. We saw at least 3 tanks from both sides, not even near the cap.
Well, that's what Caren Tigers needs. If they're going to bring those 2 tier 7s, they need to create a split fight. And they need to get Kongdoo to overcommit someplace and then start capping someplace else. And it needs to be an uncomfortable dance and just trolling on offense.
Okay.
But they didn't really get that. They didn't really find a way to do what they were trying to do in this instance. And I feel like if it didn't really work out, it's probably about time to ditch the tier 7s. They've been using it a lot, and it's honestly been their biggest weak point in all of these matches, or all the games so far. I think it's time to probably get rid of that, fall back to a tier 6, and just play a more standard metagame. Because when it comes to the actual fighting, they're doing pretty well.
Sure.
Better than they should. I feel like either Kongdoo is missing a lot of shots, or Caren Tiger just knows how to bounce correctly.
Just turn it, yeah.
And because right now, in the head-to-heads, Caren Tigers are coming out on top fairly often.
All right. Well, that will be interesting to see as these kind of fights develop. If we do kind of get into that chaos, will Kongdoo be able to come out on top? And I guess we'll be able to see that if we do see kind of another intense play like we just saw. But Kongdoo is up now 2-1. Now, if they take this battle again, they are going to be on a defense, so there's a good chance they have that slight advantage, so there's a good chance that they will. That's going to be a 3-1 advantage going into the next game. We know how much pressure that is on Caren Tigers to come back. Like you guys are seeing on the screen, a lot of fights going around over on that Northern Cap. Tanks blowing up left and right, but Kongdoo in the end coming out 3 tanks still alive. So just a fantastic play from them. But you know, the kind of question is, with the styles of both of these teams, do you think you know them enough to try to guess which one is the quote-unquote more aggressive, or are they pretty similar in their styles, or what can you kind of dissect between these two teams from what we've seen so far?
It's only been one map, so I'm not really willing to start laying down overall sweeping generalizations about what they do in general.
But
I've seen Kongdoo a lot.
Yeah.
On this map in particular, Caren Tigers is running what could arguably be considered a more aggressive, flexible, dynamic setup.
Okay.
But those are a lot of ways to describe things that I'm not necessarily sure are better than the traits that Kongdoo are valuing in this point in time. Kongdoo has this under control. And I feel like if Caren Tigers wants to run that again, it's not going to get any better for them.
Gotcha.
Right now, Kongdoo is looking like they could very easily extend this to the 3-1 just on the map alone. And we'll see what they got for picking. Caren Tiger again going with the double LTDBs. And this is just a growing problem in my mind, because if it did throw off Kongdoo in the beginning, they're getting used to it. They know the light tanks very well. Just interested. I'm not entirely sure if it's going to keep working out for them. Kongdoo's on defense. If they extend this to 3-1, and let's see, Kongdoo was on defense to start, there's a chance, I suppose, that if they're on defense again, that's 2 defensive wins on whatever map is next.
Right.
And that's a dangerous territory to go to.
Absolutely. Absolutely indeed. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are about to get underway to our 4th match and final match on Himmelsdorf for Caren Tigers versus Kongdoo. Kongdoo on defense, Caren on offense. Let's see if Caren Tigers can tie it up 2-2, or if Kongdoo can extend that lead 3-1. Let's get right into it, ladies and gentlemen, and look at what we've got again for each team for our tanks.
Caren Tigers with 2 5100s, 3 IS3s, and 2 LTTBs. Kongdoo with 2 5100s, 4 IS3s, and an AMX-12T. Same lineups. We've seen them pretty much rocking so far.
Yep.
No more E25 meta. Caren Tigers.
Something that didn't work out too well.
You know, the actual objectives and whatnot, I'd have to go with the numbers to really evaluate whether it was an actually effective strategy to begin with, and then if it's worth even trying. You know,
Sure.
whether it works or not is one thing, and then whether it's good or not is a totally different thing.
Absolutely.
But I mean, Kongdoo did pull a win off them on offense, And that is tricky territory. You don't really want to give up those offensive losses or those defensive losses on Himmelsdorf because it should be an easy event.
All right, here now looking out kind of what we've got going on. Kongdoo bunching a lot of IS-3s and a 5100 now pushing down the 6-7 line. Getting ready for, it looks like what Caren Tigers is about to do. Red Bull and his IS-3 might be in some trouble if he continues to push out. Aki, Dekamori, and Reno in their IS-3s now. I'm assuming were spotted. That's why they kind of hit the brakes there. They were pushing up that line pretty steadily. And decided to kind of back off here. The LTV's back. The first shot going out onto Red Bull, 400 damage. The shot from Kongdoo just not connecting any of the rubble right in front of him. And David, where Caren Tigers is at, where Kongdoo kind of has them frozen, who would you rather be right now? I mean, is the benefit going toward Caren or is it toward Kongdoo?
Definitely Kongdoo. Caren is stalling out in a very dangerous position right now. And their only real savior is a 1 tank coming off the 0 line, which will just prompt Kongdoo to push straight through the IS-3s.
Right, and to take them.
The IS-3s have no backup. They need that 5100. There are 2 LTTBs out there in the wind. Pretty much as soon as there is a reliable spot on that 5100 at K3, it's over. Kongdoo will just drop the hammer on these guys in the 8 line. Should, at least. The 4-5 line in the field is actually wide open. Okay, here we go. Caren Tigers adjusting the 5100, closing up that weak point that they had, which is incredibly important for them. Otherwise, I was pretty much going to guarantee there's going to be a loss. However, Kongdoo is also taking an interesting risk by having an IS-3 all the way over there in the B1 line. And you pretty much have to consider him gone. Because any fight that takes place over here in the Northeast,
he's not going to make it.
He's not going to make it.
Right.
So it's a very strange allocation of 8 points. Especially, I mean, these 2 LTDBs could probably go jump him and kill him.
Really?
It's a lot of DPM on those things. And they can absorb 1 or 2 shots from him, depending on his rolls, each. Potentially.
Oh, but here we go. A pink taking a lot of damage in that 5100, getting dropped to below half. The IS-3 pushing through, and Kongdoo, I don't know if they're letting them do this for whatever reason. The LTB now coming. Looks like Hippo might be stuck in that 12T, getting isolated here. Let's see if Kongdoo can pick up any of these IS-3s as they are on their way. Now we have over in the corner. Another shot going out onto Hippo on that 12T. The LTB did find him, but here comes the IS-3 from Kongdoo to try to back it up. Dekamori picking up Hippo in that 12T. The first tank falling for Kongdoo, and now it is a lower tier tank. But David, with that tank gone, what does that open up for Caren Tigers, or is Kongdoo still in a pretty good position?
Well, the tier 7s are actually now a little bit better than the opponent's team. I mean, they're missing a tank.
Right.
So it's kind of balancing the problems. However, LTTB just got shot once.
But here's the fight picking up all over the place. Humai in that IS-3, 39 points of damage. Papa in the 5100 taking a kill, down to another 5100 falling for Caren Tigers. It is now a 6-on-5 in favor of Caren Tigers, but Aki is extremely low. Dekamori picking up Red Bull in that IS-3, another tank falling for Kongdoo, and now it looks like this is just going to keep falling apart here for the defensive team. 96 seconds on the clock, but the cap pressure is not what anyone is worried about here. The LTTB and the IS-3 against the single IS-3 for Kongdoo. Reno picking up Papa. Doodoo is going to find Aki there, and now it is 5 tanks for Caren against just 2 for Kongdoo. Caren Tigers look like they're going to pick this one up and tie it up 2-2 on our first match of the Pacific Rumble. Ladies and gentlemen, 2 minutes and 49 seconds on the clock, and a Pink Zhang is just going to get rammed by a 5100, 491 points damage. The shot actually missing, but one more, and he will go down. Looks like he might, looks like he's not even going to be trying there. There it is, the LTTB gonna finish that one up, and Caren Tigers, so I'm going to tie it up 2-2 against Kongdoo. That's going to be fun to say. Hopefully I can say that more often tonight.
Something I legitimately never thought I would see.
Really?
A team with 2 LTTBs winning on offense just shouldn't happen. A lot of mistakes from Kongdoo.
So it wasn't like, obviously well played from Caren Tigers, but it wasn't like a crazy new meta. It was just a bunch of mistakes coming out.
It's new meta to me. Just it shouldn't work unless a team makes a whole lot of mistakes.
Okay.
Almost 1,000 damage coming out of each one of those LTTBs. Red Bull, Doodoo, Hummel, Hypo, all below even 500 damage. That's 3 IS-3s and a 12T, not even breaking 500. Meanwhile, literally everybody, everybody but one for Caren Tigers is over 1,000.
Wow, that's well spread damage right there.
That's you look at that and it's like either that's a fantastic strategy or somebody made huge mistakes. And on Himmelsdorf, it just means somebody made huge mistakes because there is no such thing as a fantastic strategy on Himmelsdorf that will give you these numbers consistently and reliably.
You just can't do it.
Somebody really messed up here.
Well, congratulations to Caren Tigerson for getting such an amazing victory there.
Hey, making your opponent make mistakes is a huge part of strategy. So if the LTTBs, if their whole thing is that they're just really trying to be different and throw them off, hey, then there you go. That's brilliant strategy on its own. But if this is a consistent meta for them, I would be very, very perplexed.
Well, now, another thing I kind of want to talk about is right in the beginning, we had the 3 ice 3s for Caren Tigers stuck on that 7-8 line.
Yeah, that should have been it right there.
And we were just, Kongdoo was kind of waiting, and then they decided to kind of back off and move away and kind of leave them there.
That's the number one thing for me is they've brought the 12T, and he's watching the courtyard, but he's not really actively scouting, and that's what they need him for.
Gotcha. Well, ladies and gentlemen, our next map is going to be Lakeville. So let's go ahead and take a look at kind of that map. This is the map we actually haven't seen today so far. So this is one we did get to see in the finals. This is actually the final map where Noble did take the victory over High Voltage here. Very open map, very spread map. David, do you think we're going to be seeing some artillery play, maybe, possibly?
That is definite possibility. I've also heard that from several teams that used to practice them, Kongdoo is excellent on Lakeville.
Really?
That's what I've heard.
Okay.
Now, I've only seen it a little bit. I haven't seen most of what they were citing with stuff that happened in practices. Apparently, Doo is an incredible scout on this map. So I'm very eager to see if that is true objectively or if these teams were kind of struggling on Lakeville themselves at that point in time. But we'll find out very soon. It looks like Caren Tigers will be on offense first, and Kongdoo will be on defense.
All right. That'll be very interesting to see. We were talking about if Kongdoo would have picked up that last victory, this would have been great. I mean, 2 defensive wins on Lakeville, but now they have to win 2 defensive and win 1 on the offense. So Caren Tigers still very much in this game. It is all tied up 2-2. I'm excited to see artillery's play it. I'm excited to see the kind of style. I want to know the difference between the NA style of artillery versus just the other regions. Let's see if there is any major difference.
Does anybody have an Ox Mathis?
Yeah. Is there another region's Ox Mathis? That is actually the question that I want to know. But we are getting into tank picks. So, David, let's take a look at what we got.
4 IS-3s, a T-54 lightweight, an AMX 5100 for Caren Tigers, and a 5916. Very interesting. 5916 is the one that makes me scratch my head a little bit. It's interesting tank. We'll get into that a little bit later. Sure. T-32, 2 IS-3s, an AMX 1390 for Kongdoo so far. 54 lightweight times 2. Good choices. And an AMX 12T. Now this lineup is more standard in general. Okay. 1390 can hold Valley very well. The 54s are better at pushing middle and general flex, so they can maybe help Valley as well. The 12T, just kind of the better of the tier 6s for this map, in my opinion. T-32's got a nice hull down in a very particular, in a couple spots, mostly down the K line. And the 2 IS-3s kind of complement that. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a southeast corner camp with flex control from the middle from the 54s, the 1390 and the 12T perhaps watching and floating around in between the Valley and the middle, and they're just going to kind of wait and see where Kongdoo or where Caren Tigers goes, and then move up where they are, get around behind him. A 1390 and a 12T coming in behind anything is pretty much going to ruin its day. Okay. So I'm seeing a lot of broadcasting coming out of Kongdoo's lineup here, and if Caren Tigers has done their homework and this lineup is good enough to do it, which I don't necessarily think it is, then they could potentially take advantage of the cards that Kongdoo is kind of laying down. Because if Kongdoo does pretty much much different does very different does many things differently from what I'm expecting here with the southeastern camp and all that, then it's going to put them in awkward positions with the tanks that they're in.
All right, well, let's see if that 5916 can make it for Caren Tigers or if Kongdoo can pick up a victory onto Lakeville, which you've heard their map. Ladies and gentlemen, the match is starting. Let's get right into it and see what both of these teams got.
Thanks to the glory of tank picking, we already know what they got.
Yeah.
Same things we already went through, but there's one more look at it there on the screen. It's going to come down to where Caren Tigers puts their IS-3s immediately. That's the biggest question here. Okay. Because wherever they go, they're not leaving. And that's one thing we do have these team cameras as well. Caren Tigers got pretty cool.
I do enjoy it.
Okay, here we go. That's pretty much expected IS-3s down the 0 line. And if we take a look over at Kongdoo, we'll see the IS-3s going over into pretty standard positions to hold the corner. Now they're doing a little bit more advanced into this corner than we saw in the finals in particular, but Elevate from North America used to do this quite a bit. T32 back here is virtually, it is hold down, and can put a pretty harsh stop to everything coming down the 0 line. And the only thing Caren Tigers can do here is plow. They have to go completely all the way through.
Can't stop.
Kongdoo making some adjustments here. Hypo in the 12T doing some middle spotting. That makes sense. 1390 backing up in cap area, just holding that middle control. He'll probably push into the 4 line a little bit late. T54 is floating around the valley. Looks like he's turned around, probably based on intel. And the entirety of Caren Tigers decided to 9-16, barreling down the 9-0 line on a Hummel.
There we go. A shot's already going into Red Bull. T32 doing a good job. Caren Tigers stopping just for a moment. But let's see if they can continue this barrel down into Kongdoo. Humai trying to stop him, but the damage going across. A lot of damage going onto both sides of this team. 7,000 for Caren Tigers. Just dropping quickly. It looks like Kongdoo might have this one on lock here as Polly takes a lot of damage, being dropped to below half health in that 5100. But Humai is actually having to back up as well. Some shots coming across the lake in that 59-16. Not a lot of damage, but still consistent nonetheless. And Reno going to pick up the first take. The T32 Ripple going down. Hummel going down as well in that IS-3. 2 tanks falling for Kongdoo, not a single one. And as I speak, Caren Tigers, Polly goes down to doo-doo. And Reno picks up a pink Zang, though. Caren Tigers doing a great job finding these tanks where they are. We still do have a 1390 full health for Kongdoo. The question is, how effective is that going to be with another tank going down? That is Pop on the T54, who is being knocked out. It is 6 tanks, 5 tanks for Caren Tigers as Hippo finds another one. Reno is extremely low as well. One more shot, and he will go down. Tier 8 picks up Hippo. A 1390 taking down Reno. Just 2 tanks remain for Kongdoo, and Caren Tigers look like they're going to be the victors of this one. Both are about one more shot. There's another one, and IS-3 taken down at 1390. And finally, Doo-Doo will be going down in his IS-3 from Dekamori. And that is Caren Tigers, which is a very quick, very clean victory there at the end. Now, we kind of talked about how this was Kongdoo map, but you did say that if they pushed, they had to push, and they shouldn't stop. They didn't stop, and they got all the tanks that they needed.
One thing we're seeing consistently out of Caren Tigers that's somewhat impressive is when they commit to something, they do it, and they don't have a lot of this bickering and moving around that we see somewhat frequently out of North America, where they lose faith and they kind of back off. And these teams understand, especially Caren Tigers so far, understand that once you're in, and you lose.
Right.
And they walked directly into what Kongdoo wanted them to. Kongdoo couldn't turn it around. And I hate to say it, but this is the type of Kongdoo that I saw play against EL Gaming when they got utterly shreked in the finals. And it's starting to happen again. And I feel like it's going to get worse. This seems like tilt to me. I mean, that was about as good as it gets. And
Kongdoo had Caren where they wanted him.
Ruined. Just Caren Tigers was like, nice trap, that's cute, drove right through it.
Wow.
Oof.
Brutal. We were kind of talking about in the earlier season too of like when that happens, it's almost worse than being outplayed, because you in a sense were like, oh, we were the ones who set the trap, instead of like, oh, they had a really good thing. Like, no, we actually had that trap and we just failed.
It's the worst type of failure.
Yeah.
Is when you know you should have won and you don't. And it's just not effective shooting, not good execution. Caren Tigers have been executing all day.
Right.
Hemmelsdorf strategy, a little bit suspect in me. We already covered that. Beat that horse all night already. But so far on Lakeville, very different style. The IS-3's broadcast where they're going. Perhaps Kongdoo could have adjusted a little bit. There's a lot of could have or should have or would haves in this situation. But when it came down to it, Caren Tigers drove straight through Kongdoo like they didn't even have
walked
armor.
all over them. Now, I think I like that you brought this up of how in NA you're right. We don't see this a lot. We see teams get in a position where Caren Tigers were and then freeze. I mean, they're like, uh-oh, like this is a trap. Well, let's try to back out. But the moment you do that, you're right. That's when you start taking the damage. You're not going to do doing damage in return. Caren Tigers a great job just once they're sitting there, like, all right, guys, we got to bite the bullet. We got to go. Again, I also want to know about just the communication that happens in that moment. I mean, when you're like, guys, we're trapped, it's over. I mean, is there one guy saying something? Is everyone saying something? Or you just kind of have that planned out?
Depends on the team.
Yeah.
It should just be 1 or 2 or maybe 3 guys talking at all.
Gotcha.
I generally think it's best to have a unit commander for the main group and the secondary group. In this instance, they were all together, so it's probably just the battle caller
Gotcha.
telling them what they need to do, and it looked like they had rehearsed it
Sure.
a lot already, and they just went with it. Picking coming out again, 4 IS-3s, a T-54 lightweight, an AMX 5100, and a 5916 for Caren Tiger. Kongdoo with a T-32, 2 IS-3s, 2 T-54 lightweights, an AMX 1390, and AMX 12T. They think, apparently,
They can do it.
that last time was a fluke.
Right.
They could just do it better.
Right.
And that and it's on its own broadcasts a little bit to Caren Tigers as well. They see the same lineup.
Oh, huh.
And you can make a very powerful read about a team and what happens next. If you see the same lineup and they do it differently, they put them in different places, that's when you know you're dealing with a team that you have to give a lot of respect. And that's a scary kind of team, honestly.
Okay.
Because they understand the game. You know, they understand the head game. The team that stubbornly is like, no, we messed up, we'll do it again, opens themselves up to you doing somewhat the same thing with like a curveball to it. So if they go down the 0 line and then flank with a 5100 or something, it could very well catch Kongdoo by surprise if they do the exact same thing over again. So we're going to learn a lot about both these teams
Right now. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into that battle. Caren Tigers on offense. Kongdoo still on defense. Let's see if Kongdoo can tie up 3-3 or if Caren Tigers can pull away with another victory, making it 4-2. David, let's get right into it and see where both these teams both go.
Absolutely. 5100, who is the interesting one out of all of this to me. The 54, somewhat predictable. The 5916, we know he'll go middle. And the IS-3s, they're going 0 line. Obviously, they just did it. They're going to do it again. Where the 5100 goes is the curveball I was talking about.
Okay.
So they either see that and they do it, which makes them a very, very respectable and dangerous team. Perhaps deserving of the second place in APAC on their own. Perhaps they're proving right now that Kongdoo making it to face EL Gaming was a fluke to begin with, because this is a type of team that should be in the finals if
this is
they're doing this like tower of this house of cards that I've assembled that could easily tumble at any point in time.
with one move.
And Kongdoo, in the meantime, all they did was pull their T-32 back closer to the IS-3s. This is something we see in NA a lot. The people who use that back right corner usually used it for a little while, and then they pulled it away. And here's the curveball.
There it is, Caren
ladies
Tigers.
and gentlemen. Well, we're just going to come up the other side, because if that T-32 is back where he was, well, he was going to take it right on top. And that's going to change a lot. The 12T definitely got him scouted on their way in, but now they're up close. And if Kongdoo had been in the same places, they would have absolutely just ruined an IS-3 that had nowhere to go. Both teams showing that they are capable of adjustment. Both teams have thrown a little bit of a curveball from what they did last time. So respect
For both of them. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. In the middle, there's a fight. The 1390 against the 5916. And that is Kongdoo coming out on top. And now that is that middle road control we've really talked about in Lakeville going over to Kongdoo. The question is now there's a slight overmatch. Will Caren Tigers be able to manage it? Pauly taking over the damage in that 5100. But a lot of damage going on to him. He goes down in that 12T. It is now tied up 1-1. But Light Tier 8 picks down Hubble in that IS-3. Doodoo taking a lot of damage as well. Getting dropped now below half health. And also, we got Aki now about to die one more shot, and he will be going down. Doodoo also extremely low. Damage a lot going back and forth. Dekamori picks up a kill. Red Bull finds one as well. The back and forth, ladies and gentlemen, has begun. Kongdoo, though, is not looking nearly as healthy as Caren Tigers, as Dekamori picks up another kill onto Red Bull. Also, cap pressure being applied there for Caren Tigers. Now 5 tanks remain against just 3 for Kongdoo. T-54 here in a nice little scouting position, jogging behind the rocks. 252 points of damage there. A pink Zhang, that's doing a good job taking down that lightweight. Nice chasing down Papa. And a 1390 picking down the T-54 for Caren Tigers. 4 tanks remain for Caren. Still the 3 for Kongdoo remaining. And a pink Zhang is at full health in that T-54. But there are still 3 IS-3s and a 5100. Now, David, looking at the kind of lineup, Kongdoo has a very light and mobile lineup. Caren Tigers slower, but just more tanks, more damage as far as overall if Kongdoo can get some resets, do you think they could stall us out and then run? Is that a possibility?
It's always a valid tactic. And while they're doing that, while they're dancing around, they could easily kill tanks. Pink Zank coming in a little bit too close, if you ask me. Would have been better off staying in the F2 area, do a little bit of sniping and running. But as it is, he's going to try and share his boss the size 3. If they can push out of it, the other size 3 gets to him, they stand a chance. Time Dick Moore comes around, takes up the kill. Pink Zank's going to have to call us out Madame.
That's right, one more shot, Madame, and he will go down. Let's see if Big Zen can take it. Or we're gonna look. No, he does. A 254 taking down that I3. And now it is Dekamori against a Pink Zang. The battle for the ages, ladies and gentlemen. Who is gonna come out on top? Let us know right now in the chat. Meanwhile, over on the other side of the map, we've got Polly as well as another IS3 for Caren Tigers coming to back up Dekamori. A Pink Zing needs to get out of there as soon as possible because the longer he waits, the more the nail in the coffin is being hammered in. It looks like he has nowhere to go. A double tap for Caren Tigers, then another tank falling. Kongdoo goes down. Just a 1390 remains, and it looks like Caren Tiger is going to take another victory, making it 4-2. And they've gotten both of these on offense against who we said Kongdoo has an amazing game on Lakeville.
Well, that's what we heard.
That's what we heard.
Apparently, it's not true.
Well, yeah, or they're just on major tilt right now.
A little bit of both.
Either way,
I think.
Caren Tigers, 10 more seconds on the clock, and they will take this victory. I'm not sure. There's nothing. This 1390 can do. 3 seconds now on the clock. Dekamori, Reno, and Pauly just waiting to get a shot where they can. Right, they see if they pull him up instantly. No mercy coming out for Caren Tigers at all. Another victory, now making it 4-2. Against Kong. We'll be switching sides and they'll be going defense. But anyway, let's talk about right in the beginning. You said they're kind of the respect going out for both teams because both of them switched up the same tactics slightly.
Yeah, and that shows a lot of wherewithal, and it's something that you can easily start dividing up what teams are good and what teams aren't based on that kind of stuff. They just do the exact same thing over again. They're begging to lose. Gotta throw it out there real quick though. I really want to keep calling this guy Belieber, because B-L-B-E, whatever that name is. Press F to pay respects to that man, because that was a brutal finish.
That was, yeah. That poor guy just coming out of the corner looking for some sort of shot. Caren Tiger said no. Said they're not going to show give him that at all.
Just said nope.
Now we're switching sides. Caren Tigers is on defense. If they pick this up, I mean, like it looks like they are, like you said, kind of overall, they've been showing that they are on point with their shots when they get into those kind of head-to-head battles. Kongdoo maybe just missing, just maybe a little on tilt. I mean, if they pick this up, we're not going to see Kongdoo advance, and that's what we're saying you should be doing it. Caren Tigers, who've won or only gotten third in the past 2 Apex, might be on their way to take, maybe get some more ground or maybe even make it to the finals.
They look very well put together.
Yeah.
Definitely a lot of surprise for me in comparison to performances of the past. Kongdoo, though, they've been around for a very long time. And you suffer, so you're on top for a long time. You suffer, you lose to EL Gaming a couple times now. And perhaps they're starting to experience that late career burnout. And once you start losing or underperforming, you're not just absolutely dominating teams that you used to dominate. It wears on you. They look kind of done, to be honest. Just doesn't look like they're performing on the level that they should at all. And they are 1 game away from losing their chance to survive and to keep going in this bracket.
Right. And we're kind of talking about the big story. Would have been amazing to see Kongdoo fight against EL Gaming again. On your screen, you guys see Caren Tigers celebrating after getting that victory. Again, just 1 more away from continuing. But yeah, I mean, that's not that can't feel good for Kongdoo, who probably was really looking forward to facing off against EL Gaming again, just like I'm sure High Voltage is looking forward to facing off against Noble.
Or the NA teams, actually. Kongdoo or Rete in the past, they've always talked about how they enjoy and they look forward to attempting to playing and trying to beat the North American teams because they did come. Many of them did come from the North American scene to begin with, so something they've mentioned a number of times in the past. But those dreams are quickly crumbling right now.
Yeah, they need to come back and they need to win these next 2 on offense, just as Caren Tiger did to them.
Caren Tigers with 3 IS3s, 250, 2 T54 lightweights, a T32, and what will likely be an AMX, no, FE304. Smart. I actually like that. That's very, 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 very smart. This is what we would have seen teams like Noble and High Voltage run. Very similar lineup.
Sure.
Kongdoo, 2 IS-3s, 4 T-54 lightweights, and an AMX-12T. That's a very dynamic, very flexible lineup. But if you run smack into those IS-3s, it will not work out. This is going to have to come down to their overall player skill, their ability to flex, be dynamic, play with Caren Tiger before they close the eventual trap. And so far in the head-to-heads,
Caren
Tiger's been taking him to school,
Absolutely.
so I don't know if this is going to work. But if there's any way to really rebuild morale, it's through this. It's to go big or go home and then actually win.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, the past is over. The future is now.
We're back.
And we're going to tear
back,
them
baby.
apart for the rest of this.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, their opponent is like, oh, God, are we going on tilt? Guys, are we going on tilt? When you start looking around at each other like that,
game goes back.
the answer is yes.
Right.
So we'll see.
Again, it is anyone's game. We've seen crazier things happen here. Ladies and gentlemen, now getting ready. We're loading into Lakeville. Caren Tigers on defense. They just need to win one more against Kongdoo. Let's see if Kongdoo can pick up 2 offensive wins and tie it up. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get right into it and take a look at what these teams are going to be doing, because we already saw the tanks.
We did indeed. Going to leave them up there on the screen for you. Take a little bit of a gander of your own. This beautiful FE304 will be the difference in this.
Okay.
As that is such a flexible lineup, you don't really want to get dragged around by it too much. But if you hard camp, check that FE304. They can't cap it, so it's a pretty strong lineup for what they're facing. And Kongdoo or Caren Tigers have been performing so far. Are they gonna step back up with the aggression again?
Yeah, look at this.
Are they
Poly
going for
stepping
a hard
out.
scout? They are. Early scout, which they have counter-scouted, exactly what Kongdoo's doing. They have tanks lined up to hit these cross shots, and the first guy who rounds this corner is going to get lit up. No! Caren Tigers backs off moments before having clear shots on Hypo.
Wow. Hypo getting extremely lucky there.
What is this?
In that 12T. Oh, there's a shot going out. Unfortunately, it is just a little bit too late. Oh, but from the back. Look at that, all of the T-54 from across the lake. Picking it up, and now he takes a little bit of damage himself. Going through shots across the map. Now, not a lot of close combat here. A lot of sniping going on. Another thing kind of want to mention is, looks like Kongdoo is now backing out. Decided to retreat here. Looks they're not going to push for that 2 cap anymore. Now he kind of reorganized himself, knowing that Caren Tigers was just 2 set up. But one thing I would say is both these teams seem to really favor going for that Eastern cap. That South Indian cap, the 2 cap there on your map in the bottom right. And not a lot putting focus on the Western. But as I speak, Kongdoo looks like to be doing, they're doing just that.
Here we go. So like we were talking about, Caren Tigers, unfazed, camping the Southeast because they know they have it unlocked. Now, the FE304 has not been necessarily protected. It was thrown out there as a huge gamble as a scout early, and it's still sitting there by the lake. It very well could go down and throw this entire plan in the trash if Caren Tigers does not get it protected and safe, because their entire defense right now relies on his ability to reset.
All right, well, let's see as this map unfolds if that is the case, or if Caren Tiger has something else up their sleeve. Again, they just need one more victory to advance to the next stage of the Pacific Rumble here. 5 minutes on the clock remain. Kongdoo sending 3 T-54s now down the 2 line, as well as the ISUs coming to back him up. Pink saying Doo-Doo and Papa. That's a great name. I love that name. Just sitting, waiting. Now, question, where Shino is right now in his T-54, if Doo-Doo just pops out for a second, is he going to get spotted?
From where Doo-Doo is, probably not.
Okay.
But there is an angle, actually, if you look directly over his shoulder and see where he's aiming right now with the lasers. Just slightly to the right of his laser is where he can be counter-spotted. You can see right through that bush, the corner of the bush and the tree and the rock, and you'll see him perfectly. But he's far enough back, and he should be able to see anybody else who pokes too high. It's typically not a place that people would like to drive over, unless they're doing this, where they come on the other side, because it's a hard push, and they want to be as far over that wall as possible.
Shino
Kongdoo
knows it.
Has dropped their hand. All cards are on the table, and it's up to Caren Tigers to close this out. They're going to push through the town to make sure they're safe with the T-54. That's a very, very smart move. And the rest of them simply need to not overreact, get tanks in a position to reset. The T-32 over here is going to probably work all the way up to this edge where he can reset himself. FE304 is close enough and protected enough, provided that that 12T and T54 lightweight are pulled off of him. He should be able, along with the T32, to make sure that Kongdoo is incapable of capping for the rest of this match.
A little bit of damage now going across both. And Hypo going down. Shino going to pick that one up. A shot from the FE304 just missing Red Bull there. 90 seconds. They just got one member on the cap. Kongdoo actually forced to back off in that IS3 over in the city as well. We got the fight continuing between those T54s going down. Let's see who's going to come out on top of this one. Caren Tigers getting extremely low here. Polly, one more shot and he will go down. Meanwhile, Hummel picking up Aki. That's 2 kills back to back for Kongdoo. Looks like Caren Tigers might be losing the grasp that they had on this map. As the IS3 now backing off again. Red Bull doing a nice job dodging back and forth from those artillery shots. Dekamori taking some more damage. And Doodoo, T54 taking down Shino. That's another tank falling for Caren Tigers.
2 full T54s going down for 1 AMX 12T and 273 points of damage on 1 T54 lightweight. If it comes down to bad trades, that's about the top of the pile.
Okay, well, fantastic outcome then for Kongdoo there, as it's an amazing turnaround. This definitely looks like this could be their time to get back into it, to shake off those losses and try to claw their way back into the tiebreaker and take this match. Reno now taking the damage in that IS3. It looks like Kongdoo just decided to give up on the cap. They're confident enough that they're going to have this. Papa taking the shot from Kongdoo onto Dekamori. Another tank from Caren Tigers going down. Hummel finding another one. Just 2 tanks remain. It is Reno and the artillery, and there's nothing they can do. Papa picks up another kill. Kongdoo looks like they're back. They have 6 members, almost full health, all of them, aside from Red Bull, to deal with this artillery. A fantastic turn of events here from the attacking team, and this is got to be a great way to kind of get off tilt quickly if you're Kongdoo. I mean, like you said, those trades are just unbelievable. There it is, Red Bull picking up that final kill, and Kongdoo now making it 4-3 on the offense against Lakeville. One more, and they can tie it up. But David, let's just talk about the ridiculousness of those T54 trades there over in the city.
I'll sum it up in one word: disaster.
Cool.
Complete and utter disaster.
Oh, poor Caren Tigers.
I'm trying hard not to get emotional about it because if that happened on my team, I would lose it.
Really?
I would completely lose it.
Really?
Be like, oh, I'm sorry. Did you have a fair fight with 254s and lose? Are you kidding? Like, I won't. Because
No.
I'll start yelling. I'll start yelling at our poor innocent fans here.
Yeah.
And there's no.
You don't want that.
Sorry.
No one wants
sorry.
that.
Sorry.
Needless to say,
you don't deserve that.
Needless to say, it's not good.
No, it's terrible. It's terrible. Like, 2 T54s, they should at least take down 1, or at least do half damage to 1. They did 1 shot to 2. Most of the time, they're driving around trying to get away and just auto-aim snapshotting, missing everything. This is a position where it's like, hold up. Stand your ground, go toe-to-toe. All they needed to do was tie up those other 54s for a long enough period of time to negate the fight elsewhere, because they had an overmatch because the 12T was gone. The FE304 wasn't really brought into play. Just bad. Disaster. The entire strategy, not just the 54s, disaster.
So as we have some of the highlights now popping up on your screen, my question, David, is going back to this whole idea of tilt. Going back to the idea of, you're just down after you've lost things you shouldn't have lost. It's hard for you to come back. If you're Caren Tigers in this situation, like you said, just here it is, guys. You're seeing on your screen the T54 is just duking it out over there in the town. And there's both of those things. The double kill coming out for Kongdoo. A fantastic all-around play for them. But if you're Caren Tigers and you lose this way, like you're saying, that should not have happened. Is it easier to brush that off, or is that even more of a detriment to your ego?
It really depends on the circumstance, honestly. Because they've been doing so well so far in their head-to-head fights for the most part, I feel like it shouldn't have that big of an impact on morale. Okay. Because it's like, guys, really? Well,
like, what was that?
There's your potato moment, and we're gonna not do that, and we're gonna win this. Okay, that sounds good. That's great. That's great. Whereas if you've been struggling a little bit and it happened, and then you got your stride back, and then it happened again, that's when it's just like, oh, it's over.
So Caren Tigers still, possibly might not, that might not have been enough to put them on tilt. So they still might be in it, and we will see as we're getting into tank picks. David, let's walk through what both these teams are picking.
Caren Tigers with 2 IS3s and T54 lightweight. Make that 2 T54
T52.
lightweights, a T32, an AMX 1390. Not particularly surprising. And what they went with last time, the AMX 12T. So
Okay.
Kongdoo, 2 IS3s, Kongdoo, 2 IS3s, 4 T54 lightweights, and AMX 12T. Dropping the FE304 for Caren Tiger, which I can get behind, because if you're bringing that many light tanks, the FE304 is not as important because you can just fight.
Gotcha.
The big thing with the FE304 is you kind of use it to reset when people roll down the valley with a bunch of IS3s or something you just can't stop with a flexible light lineup like you kind of have to bring on defense. So Kongdoo's got to do it again, though, and to even stay in this. This is do or die for them.
Right.
In a sense, it's kind of do or die for Caren Tiger, but they're on defense, so it's more like just don't die.
Yeah, it's not as intense. There's not as much pressure for Caren Tiger as there's definitely for Kongdoo. Because if they don't win this one, ladies and gentlemen, then they are going to be knocked out of this tournament. And Caren Tigers will be advancing to face off against Noble. So whoever wins this fight is going to face off against Noble. So keeping that in mind, that is going to be interesting indeed.
Your reward for your great performance now is to face the #1 team in North America.
Yeah, congratulations, have fun. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's see if that's going to be Caren Tigers right now, or if Kongdoo is going to have something to say about it. The match has started on Lakeville. Let's get right into it and see how both of these teams develop.
There are the lineups, ladies and gentlemen, the same as they were moments ago.
They're beautiful, David.
Big question here. So which side Kongdoo is going to go to first? Are they going to attempt the town? Are they going to go straight to Valley?
I say Valley.
Are they going to break everything up and go like a 4-7 hard push, which is kind of the Russian
baby,
European
I
way of
said
doing
Valley.
things? And it does look like you are correct.
Somebody save this moment. I want to thank my fourth grade teacher.
Okay, both these IS3s are definitely going to stick around a little bit longer than they did last time, probably. Realizing that they missed a perfect chance to kill that 12T.
He's in the back, Hypo in the back spot, though. I was calling him Hypo.
Which,
I think Hypo
actually did get that 12T.
A lot more accurate.
At the cost of a lot. Yeah, it's Hypo.
Yeah, Hypo, not Hippo. Sorry, Hypo. Bulbul.
This? Okay. Okay. Interesting. Spread 54 control. That is a tricky push and tree combination. So unless the team has actually kind of done their homework on Lakeville, this combination's been around for a long time. A lot of people like to use this set that is close to where he is. Let's see if we can get the camera to switch over here. So this little cluster of trees and bushes right here is actually, he can fire from nigh invisibility. A lot of people like to use this forward one right here because it's got a rock next to it. It defeats the whole purpose. You can get counter spotted.
Okay.
But back where he is now, beautiful. Not really. It can be very confusing to play against. You just don't know where it's coming from. Feels like somebody's just reaching out from the void.
just grazing you.
Kongdoo getting stuffed everywhere they go right now. They will be spotted. Honestly, by now, Caren Tigers knows where Kongdoo is, just by deduction. They haven't shown up in the 0 line yet. Either they've got an incredibly tricksy plan, or they're going over to the Valley. And they are definitely going to the Valley. I feel like Caren Tigers should be adjusting a little bit already. They don't have that FE304 to buy them those resets anymore. They need to be creating some sort of fight here. Don't see where it's going to come from. We may end up seeing another draw already.
You got Shino there on that T54 taking a shot on the Hummel. His IS3 taking a little bit of damage there. Not too much, but now Caren Tigers definitely knows where Kongdoo is. And here comes the fight again. Going over, check this down out. We have a 12T and 2 T54s against a T54 and a 1390. Let's see how this develops. It didn't go super well for Caren Tigers last time. Let's see if it's going to go this time. Hypo getting almost deleted. There he goes. Like Ture is going to pick that one up. And now they are turning their attention to Dudu and Bulbul. There in those two T54s, some shots going through. Cap pressure now, though, being applied for Kongdoo over in that southwestern corner. Now T54 backing up, doing a good job. Now, David, if Kongdoo can just kind of stall Caren Tigers here, because if Caren Tigers turn around, then Kongdoo will just chase them, right? In the town.
Yes, maybe. Really what's going on right now is the hard cappers from Kongdoo, they just want to keep the Caren Tigers guys occupied.
Oh, Shino,
And
though,
Caren
is not...
Tigers,
Yeah, Shino, though, is going to be dropping extremely low here. One more shot from that T-54, and he's going to go down. He makes it around the corner just in time from Kongdoo. T-54 taking some damage, but 20 seconds remain on the clock here. It is going down extremely low. The question is, will Caren Tigers be able to get the reset, or will Kongdoo be able to pick this one up over by the cap? We have Reno taking some shots there, looking to be the one to get those resets. Indeed, followed by Aki. And a 12T there for Caren Tigers. It is getting now down to the wire here for Caren. They need to find the resets, and they need to find it quickly. The IRC pushing over on the side. They're looking for something. Papa taking the shot, tracking the IRC, doing a great job. But the reset going there onto Red Bull, picking the cap back up to 55 seconds. Caren Tigers doing a good job. They are, though, lower on HP overall. Meanwhile, over in the city, the T-54 is going down toe-to-toe with some more against Kongdoo. Red Bull picking up Reno there. But like Tier 8 finds Yudu in his T-54, the 1390 finding their first kill. Dekamori picking up Red Bull. Now Polly going down. Like Tier 8 finding another kill. There are five for Caren Tigers remaining. Just 3 for Kongdoo. A pink Zhang and a T-54 does find a kill, but now they've decided to abandon the cap, they being Kongdoo, and they're just trying to find the overmatch where they can. But Papa will be going down. Hummel picks up Aki. It is now just 2-on-3. Dekamori again, and an AMX 12T against Hummel in that IS3. There is not much that he can do. Meanwhile, a pink Zhang, the T-54 facing off against the last member of Caren Tigers. A huge chunk of damage there going out, though, onto that 12T. And there's a pink Zhang getting very low. He actually picks up the T-54 from Caren Tigers. It is now a 2-on-2. If this IS3 does not go down quick, Kongdoo might be able to come back. A beautiful shot from across the lake goes on to Dekamori, and now Hummel is extremely low in that IS3. The AMX 12T for Caren Tigers is doing a good job trying to hide. Another shot from a pink Zhang, doing a great job willing down this T-32. And Hummel doing a good job just kind of bouncing. He picks up the shot, and now the 12T from Caren Tigers is in a lot of trouble. No, he finds it. He was reloaded, and he takes down that IS3. It is up to a pink Zhang to find and kill this 12T from Caren Tigers, and is up to Ope, I believe his name is, to get away scot-free. 1 minute and 18 seconds on the clock. David, will a pink Zhang have a shot right now? Is this something that he can make?
He will possibly catch him in the valley. Fairly likely he will catch him in the valley here. It depends on his particular driving patterns. If he just goes straight, if Alpolis goes up and over the middle here, he stands a better chance than if he turns. But as it is, he has now squandered his one opportunity to escape. He can either ghost around in here and pray, or he can do that, get spotted by Pink Zhang. Pink Zhang's driving into a rock. And Obelisk is trying to stay alive here. We've got 35 seconds or so.
There's no way.
Left. Zhang up and over the middle.
Yep.
No muss, no fuss
Using
here.
that momentum
He's going to
here.
get that light, and he's going to have to close it in. But if he does not take it carefully, he will get
the
shot
first
by
shot
Obelisk.
going through. There it is, Kongdoo tying it up against Caren Tigers, now 4-4. We're going into the tiebreaker match, ladies and gentlemen. It looks like Kongdoo might be coming back. We're talking about just on that last match in Lakeville, what they needed to do was just go in, just pedal to the metal and actually win. They did it, and it looks like they are back, although that was very, very close.
Hard carry by Pink Zhang. 2,400 and 3 kills. Next closest on his team at 1,600. And yeah. Those two T-54s put the team on their shoulders and got it done.
And now kind of looking, again, the same fight sort of branched out in the city with the T-54s going against the T-54 and a 1390 from Caren Tigers. And again, Kongdoo doing a great job just stalling them out as long as possible. If that happened to you before, if you're Caren Tigers and you got absolutely annihilated, why do it again? Cool.
I don't know, man.
Great.
Lakeville has been real weird. I thought Himmelsdorf had some strange strategy stuff going on.
T-shirt.
A little
Lakeville.
bit. But Lakeville has been the weirdest set of games I've seen in a while.
Cool.
None of the defensive strategies, both on both teams should have worked and didn't, and the offensive strategies on both teams should not have worked and did. It's just it's
Welcome to the world of tanks.
It's APAC meta, man. It's different. It's
APAC
different
meta
from what we're
indeed,
used to.
ladies and gentlemen. What you guys see on your team is Caren Tigers in those yellow shirts. They're kind of talking back and forth. Not looking as pumped or happy as it were just a few matches ago. Obviously, Kongdoo coming back. Now they are in the hot spot. This is the do or die. Now for both of them. As we can see some highlights pulling up on the team. This is the great part. I love watching that IS3 kind of dance around, doing a great job. It was Hummel from Kongdoo doing a great job, just kind of stalling for as long as possible. And here at the end, you see the sights, the lasers going out for both the 12T. Just missing that shot there. Let it go a little too early. If he would have hit that, is there a possibility the T-54 would have gone down?
He would have had to hit him twice.
Okay.
But yeah, the angle he's coming over, he could have hit him in the track, pulled forward a little bit, hit him again. Very easily could have won that. Big risk by that 54 there at the end. And the 12T, just wrong paths, wrong places.
Yeah. Now, when you go back and watch, like you were talking about, we've seen that situation, I believe, twice now, where it's time to run, right? It's like, all right, they can't cap. It's a 1v1. Now, if I get out of there and hide quick enough, I can make it out. Do teams plan for that? Because I mean, I'm assuming you don't like practice. Oh, hey, let's all put ourselves in the situations as if we're this last surviving team member, and we now just have to outrun for 50 seconds. Or do you? Do you actually practice for those things?
We call that practice public matches.
Yeah. Okay.
That's pretty much what happens. I mean, most of these guys are used to the rest of their team dying and trying to carry like 1v8, and they do in many cases. So, but yeah, some teams do practice that kind of thing. Or it happens in a practice, so you get practice at it. In my team, we used to do drills in certain situations, not necessarily that one,
right?
But more like head-to-head, IS3 versus IS3. A lot of 1v1 kind of stuff. So if it did come down to that you can win. And I don't think there's any real reason to have expected or practiced that specific thing that they had there.
Sure. Well, do you think teams have like at least certain routes they take on certain maps? Like, hey, this is the best way out of here. This is the best way to hide.
Sure. If the 12T had gone up and over the middle like the T-54 did, straight up and over, there's a chance he can catch air. There's a chance that he can slow down too much. But it
just comes down to
it depends on how much time you have, because if you need to get out of the line of fire as quickly as possible, the way that he did it is the best, because you get around and out of the line of fire. But if you've got enough time to get up over that hill, if you go straight, it's a better way to do it, because you go the other way, you don't have enough time.
Right. Well,
you kind of see what I'm getting here.
What if the 12T and the T-54, could they dance around the center building there?
Yep.
Is that a possibility?
That's why the 54 went middle like that. Up and over. He gets the proxy spot, then he finds him. And he was just expecting to be able to boss that 12T in a little bit of a gamble.
Yeah.
And it could have gone all wrong.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, here it is, the final battle between Caren Tiger and Kongdoo. Let's see what we've got for these tanks.
Caren Tiger. This is going to be on mines.
Yeah, it is.
Mines. Alrighty then.
Fun
4
to see.
IS3s, an Object 416, an LTTP, and an E25. They like this meta a lot.
They do. The Z25.
Kongdoo with 2 IS3s, a T32, 3 T54 lightweights, and an M44.
Will we see the Ox Mathis?
You know, if you just had to look at these lineups,
yep, I'm looking at them,
and guess which team scrims North American teams a lot,
would you say it was Kongdoo?
Oh, it's clearly Kongdoo in my opinion.
Yeah. Yep.
So at least I know what to expect from that. Caren Tiger, perhaps some interesting stuff to do with the E25. On this map in particular, I'm not sure there's anything that E25 could do that an LTTB couldn't, or the WZ-131 couldn't do the same or better, unless there's some sort of little dip somewhere in the ground.
Yeah.
Pretty much the only thing I can think of. What we will find out is this is the tiebreaker, the final game of the very first match of the Rumble in the East.
Yep.
Caren Tigers versus Kongdoo, head-to-head.
And they're going to move on to face Noble. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's see who it is. Who's going to face off Noble in that third battle? Will it be Caren Tigers? Will it be Kongdoo? We are into mines, and I'm excited to see what both of these teams can bring to this fight.
Here are the lineups. And here are the starting positions. You can see a little bit as they spread out here.
There's that middle push going for Kongdoo. Very aggressive right off the bat, sending all of it. Did we have a statistic for how many IS3s You know, I think it was like
Well,
four
I mean,
to
we had
three.
statistical data of how well it works in NA, given the entire
That
spread of
changes here.
teams, and it led to if you use 3, you're probably going to lose. But basically, the statistical outliers in those instances, the ones that broke the trend,
Throw 'em out the window.
were Noble and high voltage. So it's like, well, these numbers are cool and all, unless you're one of the best teams, and then you
That
just
doesn't
win
apply
with
to you.
whatever you bring.
Sure, sure.
Shocker.
All right, well, they're right off the bat.
Stats,
A
man.
little bit of damage going off onto the LTTB there for Caren Tigers, but more damage going on top of that T54 for Kongdoo. But Kongdoo does have the hill control. Now, David, looking where this E25 is headed, it's kind of over there. There's that in the J3 position, sitting behind a bush. Looks like he might just be looking for that that western cap.
He's he's essentially permanently spotting that western cap. There's a chance that he can spot anything that goes down the 1-2 line clearly as well. It's it's a tier 7 that's spotting. You can do that with other tanks in the E25. They really like that E25 though.
They do. At least obviously that is something that Obelisk feels very, very comfortable in. The shot I hear it coming out from the M44. Nothing connecting though onto Caren Tigers.
That's a weird feeling, huh?
generally when you hear that, talks Mathis, you hear it, you're like, where is it going to be?
Get a little excited. You're like, oh, let's see who died.
Exactly.
Oh, nobody.
Oh,
Apparently nobody.
Bubble and the T54 actually bailing off the backside of the hill there. Looks like he might be trying to reposition to either surprise Caren Tigers, or maybe there's, looks like they're just giving up the hill as Papa also backing off. That's something very interesting. This is not something we see a lot. Usually if you have that hill control, you usually keep it. Why do you think David Kongdoo is doing this?
They're going to do a hard 1-2 push, and I guess they believed that they couldn't hold it against the IS3 push that's going to move up there relatively soon. That's the only thing I can think.
Okay.
Because otherwise they're making a critical mistake. So it has to be. It has to be. They just didn't think they could win that fight.
All right, well, let's see if hopefully if this is not a mistake for them in the end, if this is something that they need to do.
I mean, they're driving into the E25's permanent spotting range. He's got all of this on lock.
All right, 3 shots now from the M44, not a single one hitting. And now with that one out, the IS3s are taking their cue to push. Now going over the hill. Let's see now, Hummel in his IS3 taking a little bit of damage. So now they know, obviously, they are being spotted. They have the indicators on their tanks. The question is, do they know where Obelisk is, or can they even guess? Red Bull putting the pressure now onto that western cap down the valley for Kongdoo as well as Hummel. 43 seconds on the clock again, ladies and gentlemen. This is the tiebreaker match. Whoever wins this will move on through the Pacific Rumble to face off against Noble, and whoever wins that will secure a spot for the finals for $45,000. Dekamori takes a lot of damage in that IS3. I'm not sure if that was a shot from the M44. I didn't quite hear it, but that drops him to below half health as Caren Tigers pushing over the hill. The LTTB coming around the side. They now know that there's no one over there on the hill or on the other side by the town. And now here comes the flank for Caren Tigers, turning on to Kongdoo. The question is, who is going to come out on top? Bubble and that T54 getting dropped extremely low now. One more shot and he will go down. Now Red Bull getting reset. A pink Zang also on top by the lighthouse. A lot of damage going on to Doodoo as well. And that T32, let's see who's going to drop first. It's going to be Hypo in that M44. The artillery now is down for Kongdoo, and Tier 8 takes down Bubble. That is 2 tanks fallen for Kongdoo. That is 3 tanks fallen for Kongdoo. Not a single one for Caren Tigers. And as Caren Tigers can continue this, they will be the victors here. The question is, can Kongdoo do anything to stop what is happening to them as a Pink Zang takes 362 points of damage. Red Bull goes down. It looks like Caren Tiger is going to be the victor here, and it looks like they are going to move on. Kongdoo finding a kill. Hummel's going to pick that one up. The E25 going down, but Aki going to finish off that IS3. It is just a Pink Zang and Papa against 6 members. Caren Tigers have done it. They have brought Kongdoo to the tiebreakers, and they have ended them here onto mines, showing a superior play, having 6 tanks survive at the end, and they are now 1 step closer to $45,000, and they will be the ones to face off against Noble here. The LTTB doing its best to try to finish off. Papa actually might get a kill. Let's see if he can finish off this LTTB. No! Like Tier 8 is gonna take him down. Congratulations to Caren Tigers for that victory in the end. And man, that concludes the first matchup. Like we were saying, they are gonna go on now to face Noble to see who is gonna go on into the finals. But David, let's just break that down, what we just saw on the mines. Caren Tiger cleaned house right there. And do you really think it was that mistake to push off the hill?
Absolutely, and they had enough intel to know they were being lit from that area. They can expect the light from that area. The E25 allowed Caren Tigers to make those decisions,
Gotcha.
but it wasn't necessary at all. Caren Tigers could have easily done that. Honestly, leaving the hill,
Big mistake.
just that was the game. That was the game. They had all the IS-3s in a place where they had to move up, and they let it go. For no real reason.
There it is on your screen, ladies and gentlemen. Caren Tigers, super excited, super pumped. Again, one step closer to that grand prize, to that champion title for the Pacific Rumble here. Again, this is all live happening, ladies and gentlemen, from Tokyo. The crowd going wild there. Everyone's pumped. Everyone's excited. We are in for the long haul. I got my slippers. I am ready, ladies and gentlemen. Up next, though, it is going to be EL versus High Voltage. We saw EL play before. They lost to Noble in our fun show match for you guys, and now they're going to play against the second-place team of NA. I'm excited to see this, David.
I'm excited to see this.
All right, well then, let's, without further ado, go to break so we can come back and see this. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.